What's up YouTube? I'm Vaughn and this is the Gear channel where we discuss collectibles, hobbies, competitive games from tabletop to video games, and today we are reviewing my Ancient Gear deck. Now instead of just going through every single card, because most of these cards are very familiar, we're going to go straight to the point and show you why we're playing with these specific cards, why we're not playing with specific cards, and most importantly is what kind of interactions we could do against the meta deck that you definitely need to know, especially if you're planning on playing this deck. Now, before we begin, friendly reminder as always to like and subscribe. And also, we're going to be doing our first guest replay here on the channel, so make sure to follow me on my Facebook page and message me your awesome replay if you want to see it be reviewed here on the channel. So let's begin. So first with the hand traps, we're going to go with draw. Now, draw is definitely a turn stopper, and especially in today's meta, so it's quite good. And I know some of you might be worried about tactics or call by the grave, but even tactics, okay, if they go and they decide to rip a card from her hand, that's still two cards just to end your opponent's turn. And Call by the Grave, which I actually love, because that means on your turn you cannot get drilled as well. So there's a lot of times that your opponent actually forgets that Call by the Grave is for 2 turns. So when they go and Call by the Grave your draw, and then they try to use theirs, it's like no, so you get to play for free. Now, Imprim is quite good, and the reason why I love it is because a lot of monsters in today's meta all have multiple effects, so this just negates the whole monster's effect. And also, you could do it on either player's turn, so if your opponent establishes a board and there's just one nuisance card, this could definitely get rid of, and it is a trap, so they can tactics it as well. Now, some of you might be wondering, why are we playing Dark Ruler no more in our OTK deck? Well, let me explain. Even though this is a going second deck, it doesn't necessarily mean we have to win on that turn. Now, definitely playing Dark Ruler no more, wiping your opponent's board, and then just establishing like some beat stick or even floaters. And this deck is really good with floaters when it comes to Hyrancer and even Tanker. So it's really good of taking an advantage once your opponent just finished using all their resources. It's like the same like concept as a player doing Dark Ruler no more and then going AA Zeus right after. So it just restarts the gameplay and just guarantee. And just because you have Dark Ruler no more doesn't mean you have to use it. There's many times it's in my hand and I'm like, no, I don't necessarily have to use it. I could just combo off an OTK and just use it as a cost for Dark Golem. Now, some of you might be looking at Foolish Barrier Good. You new Ancient Gear players are probably wondering, like, why you're playing this. The old ones might understand this is definitely an old strategy because it actually considers to be like a catapult. So it's like you're playing 4 catapults. You send catapults, so then you can use the grave effect to pop your thing, get a token, and then start extending like that. And also, you know what? It's a decent bait for Ash. I find when you're against better players, they don't really fall for the bait, but still a decent bait. Just keep that in mind on who you're playing against, because this might actually change quite a bit and even your strategy. So always expect this card not being asked sometimes. Now for the monsters, there's probably some Ancient Gears you're probably missing. So we're definitely not playing Ancient Gear Golem. Now, this has been a horrible break every single time. And you know what? Just to have it for Commander's Effect additional normal summon, it's not really worth it. So to warrant consistency just for a card that you can't even do much with, and it's not even necessary to have because of Dark Golem, and you can't even use Ancient Gear Golem for Urgent Schedule as well. Like, if you still want to use Commander's effects, okay, so first of all, it's sending from hand, deck, or face up on the field. So if you have a Dark Golem face up on the field, you could send it, so you could go and normal a monster from your hand if you need that additional normal summon. But the second effect is very easy to actually come up. If he's on the field and you spell summon a Dark Golem and you have another Dark Golem in your graveyard, you could just spell summon that one as well, and then you have both of them on the field. So there's definitely ways like around it, which is quite good. Now we're not playing Ancient Gear Box because yes, many single times it just became a dead card and it's not necessary important to have. And you know what? The reason why we played it back then was because the majority of fusion materials was only field and hand. So we needed that extra monster as a fusion material. But since we have like Ancient Gear Fusion that could be abused very easily, of sending from deck to grave. And also we have the Ancient Gear Duel that banishes. We don't really need that extra fusion material, so it's not really necessary to have it as like an additional add. And I know some of you might disagree because of Ancient Gear Dark Golem, but think of the consistency and even think of the value that it brings. It's like it's not really that necessary to play box. And even the Gizmek is like the same situation. It's all situational when it comes to this. Now we're going to go straight into the extra monsters. Now, most important thing that you need to know, okay? So Ancient Gear, Chaos Ancient Gear Giant, and also Howitzer are unaffected by like spell and traps, okay? So if you're against Nightmare Pain, Nightmare Pain does not affect the player, it affects the monster. So if you're against Yubel and they have other monsters besides Yubel, your Chaos Ancient Gear Giant can actually attack them and not the Yubel because it's unaffected by Nightmare Pain. Now, this is actually the correct ruling for it. So, this is how I actually beat Yubel many single time, because when they do like a few other plays like the Unchained or Lotus or whatever, and you just start attacking every other monster besides Yubel, you can definitely OTK like this. Now, a thing to actually know with Howitzer is that if your opponent has Phantom of Yubel, now, Phantom of Yubel is the one that like changes the effect. So changing the effect does not affect the monster; it just affects the effect. So if you use Howitzer effect to inflict 1,000, they could actually change that to destroy a Yubel. So you have to keep that in mind, not to just use Howitzer inflict 1,000, especially if Phantom of Yubel is on the board. So that's something to definitely navigate around. Another thing to note is Megaton and also Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem. Both the destruction effects, okay, to special summon like a Ancient Gear Golem or Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem can be applied anywhere on the field. So if you're against Snake Eye and they play either Megaton or your Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem and they destroy them, you could trigger with both the effects. Now, many times my opponent, like I usually abuse Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem more. So if they go and play in the spell trap zone and I go and use Catapult to pop it, yes, I'm going to spell summon a Ancient Gear Golem from the graveyard, which is going to be or Dark Golem, which is going to trigger the effect, and that just starts a whole new ball game of like extending. So it's definitely very neat to know that yes, they trigger in your spell trap zone too when they get like destroyed. Now for the XYZs, we have Babushka. Now a lot of decks that are forcing us to go like, let's say, first, okay? Now, Babushka is good if we get Shifted. We can actually make it very easily because majority of deck that plays Shifter, they don't do that well against Babushka, so it's definitely good. And if you're against Tempai and you play Babushka and also Chaos Ancient Gear Giant, they kind of have to commit with the Black Rose play. So if we have like another interruption or something as well, or hand trap, we could definitely live from it. And there's also stuff in the side that is definitely good for that situation. Now, we're playing again, okay, the Dreadnought, okay? So why we're playing this card is because it is a rank 4 machine. So with Urgent Schedule, we can only attack with machine monsters. So if we want to make an A Zeus, this is actually a good card to make A Zeus with. But his ability is that you could use 2 or more level 4 monsters, okay? If it gets destroyed, detach to save it, wherever. If he destroys a monster by battle, at the end of the battle phase, you could overlay it with a level 10 or higher machine monster. Now, this is really good because we could actually make, okay, or super quanta, okay, which is very good because if you have 2 or more materials, once per turn quick effect, you could target a card and shuffle it back into the deck. So if you are doing like Dark Blue No More, wiping your opponent's board, destroy a monster by battle, make this guy deals with the spell and traps wherever is remaining on the board. So you are really clearing your opponent's board completely. And also, if you don't want to overlay it with a Zeus after, you're still going to have like an additional like material to use to bounce another card on your opponent's turn. So it's quite good. We definitely have the Ballista is amazing. But you know what? The Platinum Gadget, it comes up sometimes, not too often, but you know what, it's still good to have in case of specific situations. Okay, now for the side deck. So we do have our 3 bestials that we are playing with, and you know what, Baldric, it's okay. You know what, we could actually tribute or chaos giant to actually trigger it, so it's not the end of the world. So it's quite good to use. And then Dressworm, and then Magna Mutt as well. And then DD Crow is very, very good, especially in today's format. So this card has been coming in clutch many, many times. But the most weirdest thing that you guys are going to see is Dogward. And I know some of you is like, oh, it's easy because if you hit time, you have Dogward. No. No, 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 no. I'm even debating of maining this, and the only reason why I don't main it is because play against Yubel quite a bit. But this card is good anytime, okay? In today's format, okay, they are just spamming nonstop. This card gives you additional turns. So you just rack up in life points and you don't even have to commit just yet. You could just like prolong, wait a bit, and then when you build the right hand, you could just explode. And especially with like a lot of decks that could like OTK very easily, this card definitely saves you. So definitely starting to recommend to like play this because it's just in today's format it's just good, and it's not even just good for time, it is good constantly, okay? So even like maining it, it's not even starting to be like ridiculous. Me, I just don't, because lately it's been playing against a lot of U-Bell decks, so that's why I'm not really maining it, but it's definitely a really good card. Battlefield, I've been testing it, it's been decent. So against like Tenpei, it's actually been really good. So if your opponent attacks you directly, you can special summon it and end the battle phase. So it's quite good in that sense. Hasn't been coming up too much. Now we do have the rest of the side deck, which is Harpies and 2 Lightning Storms. Now I am taking the 2 Lightning Storms for Twin Twisters because I feel like Twin Twisters has been bringing more value, because it's not really monsters that's been a problem, it's more spell and trap cards, and even getting like anti-spell might be an issue, but also just chaining stuff and also popping your own stuff is very key. And especially if we have like face up spell and trap cards on our board, we can't even play Lightning Storm. So now I've been playing like Twin Twisters. I forgot to just switch that out, but I do recommend for people to actually play 2 Twin Twisters instead of the 2 Lightning Storms. And that's it for deck profile. Now if you guys enjoyed today's video, you know what to do. Like and subscribe. And if you guys want to see more matches or more replays that we're planning on doing, you know what to do. Definitely follow me on my Facebook page and send it out to me. I would definitely post it here on the channel. Till next time, I'm Vaughn, and this is the Gear Channel.